we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. And today's Mailbag segment is brought to you by our good friends over at AMC Theaters. Listen, if you guys have a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Send on in your questions and let's see if we can get it on the show. So for now, Sinead, what's in the mailbag?
Grady writes, as we know, it's been well over a year since Peter Billingsley wrapped production on the Term Life film. Do you feel that there are production issues in the pipes, or do you feel a brief gap between the trailer release and the movie hitting theaters, with it supposedly having a 2015 release date? Being an extra in this film, I'm totally stoked for this project to drop.
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm concerned, though. I am concerned because as far as I know, it's still supposed to come out this year. But as of right now, I do not believe it has an official release date. It's just kind of says 2015. I fear a little bit that this may go the same way of Stretch.
Yes.
And, you know, remember that where Stretch was supposed to come out, that Chris Pine movie was supposed to come out, and then they, you know, just kind of meandered around, and all of a sudden it was a VOD thing. And I fear that, but as far as I know, the plan's still there. If you don't know anything about this thing, Term Life, it's a really cool idea. Vince Vaughn, and I don't think it's a comedy either. I think it's supposed to be more serious. Vince Vaughn has an estranged daughter, and he wants the one good thing in his life that he wants to do. He wants to do one good thing in his life. So he takes out a life insurance policy on himself and makes his estranged daughter the beneficiary. The problem is there's a contract out on his life that's so big that every hitman in the city is trying to kill him. And his life insurance policy doesn't become vested or doesn't kick in for another 24 hours. So the movie's basically about him needing to survive just 24 more hours, stay alive, so that his daughter can get the life insurance. I think it's a great idea. I love to see Vince Vaughn in this type of role after seeing what he's been doing on the new True Detective. So as far as I know, it's still coming. But like you, I am worried. Mark, have you heard anything about it?
You know, the premise that you just described sounds like it could be multiple things. It might be very dramatic and dark. It might be a dark comedy, and that could be the reason why the release date feels like it might be postponed, is because the studio is saying, no, this needs to be lighter, this needs to be funnier, we need a different ending to this. Vince Vaughn usually has movies come out around Thanksgiving, which is the time families all want to go together, like The Delivery Man or something like that. So maybe they were trying to position it as that, and then they screen the film and it doesn't quite hit that demographic they're hoping for, so it gets pushed a little bit. But I'd like to see this. It sounds like a cool idea and a new step for Vince Vaughn. I also love Haley Steinfeld. And Peter Billingsley, he was Ralphie from A Christmas Story. How do you not root for that guy? Get your movie out.
It sounds like a VOD release to me. I mean, no. I mean, not that. It sounds like that's what they're going for. I'd like to see it in the theater as well, but that there's nothing. Even the trailer got taken down, basically, is what we were talking about.
Yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere, actually.
Yeah, it just sounds like they're like, all right, if we don't hear about it in the next 2 months, it's not going to be coming out for Christmas. So maybe they're just pushing it to January or February as a release. You know, it's hard to tell, but I don't think it's going to come out in 2015.
Do us a favor, guys. If you know anything about, if you've heard any other information, have some links to share, jump in the comment section and share them, because we would love to know. All right, Sinead, what's next?
Andy writes, hey guys, I was just wondering if you could clarify something for me. With the recent announcement that Phil Lord and Chris Miller will be directing the Star Wars anthology Han Solo spinoff, do you think that they will still be attached to The Flash in the animated Spider-Man movies? Both of these movies are scheduled for 2018, which would be when the next Star Wars anthology movie after Rogue One would be due, although there is no confirmed date for the Han Solo movie.
Well, it's important to point out here that while there's been speculation and conjecture, Miller and Lord were never announced as director for those other films. They were never said, nobody ever said they were going to be directing the Spider-Man animated feature. Nobody ever said they were going to be directing anything else. They are directing the Star Wars anthology film. We know that. Still, whether the writing and producing, that is time consuming, and that does seem like a lot to be on their plate to play any sort of significant role, which is what we heard. As far as I know, up until this point, they are still attached to everything, but I won't be surprised at all if within the next 4 to 5 weeks, we hear that they had to step off of something. I don't know, Schnepp, have you heard anything else, or how do you think this is going to play out?
I haven't heard anything, but yeah, it does seem like a lot of big tentpole movies to be involved in that are all happening at the same time. So I see them holding on to 2 out of those 3. And probably they'll drop The Flash, because it seems like Spider-Man being in the Marvel universe, being in the Disney universe, crossover Star Wars works a little bit better for everybody. You know, it's almost in the same camp. And DC, Flash is the opposite spectrum. So I would say, if anything, they could hold on to like EP credits for The Flash and oversee it. Maybe they already have a first draft, or they could have pounded out a script and be like, damn, that's it. We'll polish it up.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Is that even if they don't totally step off the project, if it is like we're just going to step back and oversee it and basically slap our name on this and get all the residual dough that we get for being a part of this project technically, and maybe they oversee, they look at drafts of scripts, or maybe you're right, John. Maybe they already had a draft in place. They're like, here you go, you punch it up and go make your stuff. But their focus is definitely going to be on directing the next Star Wars anthology.
Speaking of the Flash, did you notice the Flash in Trainwreck? We saw Trainwreck last night. Did you notice the Flash in Trainwreck?
I noticed the Flash in Trainwreck.
He's the intern.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the Flash.
Oh, wow.
That's DC's new. Yeah, that was Ezra Miller.
All right. Way to go, kid.
All right, what's next?
Ali writes, "Hey Collider crew, how's everything going? Thank you for your hard work and making our lives much better.
Oh.
My question is, what are some of your favorite Hans Zimmer scores? I love the work he did on Man of Steel, The Dark Knight trilogy, 12 Years a Slave, and Inception. He's my favorite composer alongside John Williams. Thanks and keep up the amazing work."
This might be a little bit of because you did it latelyism, but I thought the score to Man of Steel was insanely good. When you watch it, it's what you can judge a score by two different types of criteria. One criteria is just sitting in your car and popping in the CD and listening to it. And the Man of Steel soundtrack is very good that way. But another way you measure it is how does it enhance the scenes in which the music is playing? And when you watch Man of Steel, a movie which I loved, when you watch Man of Steel, the music adds, it is such a dimension to the image on the screen. It plays so perfectly into it. So for right now, I got to say the score to Man of Steel for me personally, it's magic to me. Anyway, Mark, what about you? Favorite Hans Zimmer?
When he's one of these composers that can have something that will enhance an already good film, like with what he did with Crimson Tide, is a movie that I caught on TNT the other day, and I'm like, yeah, this score is great. And then also it can kind of apologize for some silly scenes in movies, like what he did with The Rock when they have that useless car chase on the streets of San Francisco. But you're having so much fun because that score gets you so pumped up. So, and I love The Rock, by the way, but come on, that car chase did not belong in there. Hans Zimmer saw it didn't belong in there and was like, you know what? Watch this. And he threw some composer magic in there.
Snap.
I'm going to say The Dark Knight. I love that score. And I love how especially the Joker's theme, the way he just like put together all different kinds of sound effects of like needles dropping and metal scraping. And I mean, he really, really worked his magic. I also love Man of Steel too. He's an Interstellar. I mean, almost everything.
And Inception too, right?
Yeah. All of his scores are great. He really puts a lot.
By the way, you spoke too soon about resisting the nerd flu, I think.
I know. I can hear
progressively
getting worse.
Claws.
Somebody be like, "Yo, fat man, drink some water." I'd have to, all right.
He's just getting emotional, The Dark Knight score does different things.
It got me all teared up. I would say Amazing Spider-Man 2, not as great. I was like, if I was going to stack, hey kids, I got to always rip on it. Give me a shot. So he's going to be me ripping on it. It'd be like, of his entire au revoir, it'd be like at the bottom. Somewhere in the bottom, like, hey, I just started out and then I decided to do this. Like, along came a spider, scrimpy. Nope. No.